¿Qué tal amigos? Estamos de vuelta. Bienvenue mes amis, on s'en retourné. Hola amigos, estamos de vuelta. Alright guys, let's just continue. I'm really enjoying the film, and from now on all these film videos will be two-parters, so that I take my time reviewing things, thinking things through, and I feel this is better for me, better for the audience, because you guys get to see more of my thinking process, and I give more examples, take time to revise, and definitely from now on it's gonna be 2 videos. So let's just go back to the music. Music, that's his job. Echo and the Mighty Men are a good addition, and Killing Moon, this is a song from the 80s, and for those of you guys who are familiar with Joy Division, it's sort of similar to this, and it's the Cure, Joy Division, like all these bands. I really like them. They might be considered new wave. So we see this with Matthew, Danielle. It's a bit overdone, but I feel it does the job. And that's one of my critique with this film, is that I feel like most things, that tone is not consistent. Then we have Elliott Smith, and he's also a good choice. He has many heartfelt type of songs, and there's a bunch of them that I really enjoy. But definitely, like, I feel he fits in right in this film. And most of the songs are easy to listen to. Honestly, they feel more like an accompanying piece to the film as opposed to a feature in itself. For instance, when Matthew and Danielle are in a car, I feel when that song Take That Picture by Filter does a good job. And I feel this is a standout track out of the bunch of them. There's also one by Crees he did like some of the songs from the OC, and I feel that one is good, but this one by Filter is much better. Like in terms of capturing the scene and like the feeling of the film, this is when Matthew skips school and goes with Danielle in the car, and they just take off. And I thought it was the development of his character, like a moment of conviction in Matthew to start taking life by the horns, the colloquial expression there. And yeah, I think it does its job. It was enjoyable. So definitely I feel the film does its job, and that's it. Like, it's not standing out by itself, it's more like making things happen. So the lead actors are very good. So Emila Hirsch is really good and serious. He's a really good and serious actor. Like, he went on to do a lot of serious drama. Like, he's definitely a standout guy. And Greenfield, compare him to Marlon Brando, like he's definitely a very talented guy, and you can tell right away. So I feel he can deliver sympathy through his facial expressions. Right away when we meet him, like, we feel for him in the intro. For instance, when he talks about his high school, he's a high schooler. Well, at the same time, he's talented. Like, you don't envy him, like, you don't dislike him, you just like him because he just seems like a good guy, he has great dialogue as well. Like, this is right up there when he asks Danielle about crazy activities. So he has sometimes this cool dialogue. But I feel, guys, so this is what's going on. Like, and this is, I feel comparing his character to the character Holden from Chasing Amy is important. Because for you guys, I watched Chasing Amy a bit. Like, I watched it in parts. Like, I didn't, but I remember it well. But with that, I feel Kevin Smith would have been the right guy to take this film, because in Chasing Amy you have a lesbian girl, and you have this guy who's awkward, and then you have this friend who's super into sex. And the actor, I think, is called Lee, Jamie Lee. So he's really into sex. He's really into like adult content. And he's so pro, like, wow, this is so cool. Well, Holland, he's questioning things. He's like, oh, should I date this girl? Shouldn't I? And then that girl, she just seems open-minded. But I feel that approach would have worked better for a film like this. Even though I know this is probably a studio film, I feel that the film would have been better if it was more Chasing Amy-like, where the main character, in this case Matthew, he tries to explore what is it to date an adult actress, and we got to know a bit more about Danielle. And then we would have had Eli, who I like, and I feel he's a standout character here, playing more of that friend role. And then those three characters truly being the core of the film. I felt that would have made the film, it would have elevated it much, much more. Well, I feel that with Greenfield, I feel he has a lot of great ideas and a great premise, and McKenna as well. But I feel that the material, you know what I mean, guys? The material itself lends itself better to a more Kevin Smith approach than to a road trip style of film. Because I feel that Greenfield, he's more of a road trip guy. He's more of an action guy. For instance, in his latest film, I've watched a couple of his latest films. There's one that is very road trip oriented, where there's two brothers and they go on a trip, and there's new information, mysteries, twists. Like, I feel like he really like stands out more when he's doing that kind of content. I bet he really likes doing this kind of more action oriented film. Well, I feel with this film, like, I like it, and the actors are great, especially the three main characters, Danielle, Matthew, and Eli. I feel those are our characters, but I felt that they were trying to put too much in it, you know. Well, a more Kevin Smith approach of like just taking it slow, focusing on the smaller characters, trying to explore more the morality of things. It would have been more interesting. So Danielle asked him about creativity. It feels he delivers a smooth performance. Danielle, Alicia, she has a very sexy voice. She also has this motif of trying to get Matthew to do crazy stuff, like jumping into the pool. And when she takes him to the party, and she also has this epic line about like hooking up. And I like it. It's daring, it's confident, it's interesting, you know, and it just doesn't victimize, because that's one of the things that, and this is my issue with the film, that on one hand it's very forward thinking, you know, like, yeah, this girl isn't victimized, like she enjoys her job, but on the other hand it's also like, oh yeah, but maybe she doesn't. Like, that's why like I don't get a clear read from the film. Well, in Chasing Amy, I feel like the ideas were more clear, you know, like okay, this is a girl who's lives a bit of an alternative lifestyle to mainstream people, you know, so people don't say, oh, this and that. Well, and then we have this guy who's put in this situation, like what should he do? And you know, it's more interesting like that. So secondary actors, so Eli's Matt friend, and he just reminds you a lot of a bunch of characters from Project X, but deliver more, you know, because he, unlike the Project X guys, like they're just hanging out. This guy is a director, so I thought that was interesting that he was a director, and I thought it was a wasted opportunity because they could have gone on a road trip to LA or something like that, and then try to explore more, you know. And then I thought that would have made it very, very interesting. He's the one doing all the raunchy dialogue and the more sex crazed dialogue. He also moved the plot forward when he shows Matthew Danielle's tape. And yeah, I felt Eli, he stands out. Honestly, like, I watched the actor's previous work in Just Friends. Alright guys, so the actor's name is Crees, and I felt Crees did a good job. And this is what I think. I think it would have been enough just having Eli, Crees, Danielle, and Matthew, just the three of them, and focusing on that plot, because he's a director, so he opens more opportunities to explore, like, how does a director feel, for instance, being part of this adult work? Like, does he feel comfortable? Does he like it? Why did he choose this type of work? I felt there was a lot of introspection, you know, and the film lends itself more to introspection. Well, Greenfield's forte is more the action-oriented film, so definitely. And yeah, Kelly, and this is, I think some critics like Kelly's work, but I have to question things here, because yeah, it's a strong performance at first. He kept things going and showed his game to Matthew's college friends, like, cool, like, I guess he has game and stuff, like, and he has a quote-unquote grip on Danielle, like, he's able to convince her to keep on working. However, I feel we can't connect with Kelly, and this is something that I wanted to, and people might say, oh, we don't need to connect with him, but I would disagree with that. The reason because he isn't needed in the story, you know, and I feel in certain Protestant denominations, they might feel like, oh, let's describe this evil guy, you know, that, or not necessarily them, but there's some people who are into horror as well, who are really into this, like, evil character, but I feel like he just isn't needed in the story, guys, you know what I mean? since it's about Matthew's personal growth, not necessarily about Danielle. And even in a chasing Amy scenario, it would have been just better for Danielle to choose that work herself and then just trying to get to know her better. Like, we don't need a guy to come in and he's the reason, because it kind of weakens Danielle's character, and it makes her more into a victim as opposed to a woman who's just interested in this profession, or for some other reason she just wanted to get involved in it, so it just opens a different kind of worms, to the whole film. And like, it makes us wonder, what is their relationship? Is it abusive? Is it manipulative? Like, I felt honestly like critics might like Kelly because they might say, oh, he brings drama, like, yes, like a lot of these critics are into like the whole, oh, look, this evil person, and a lot of, I don't think Calvin is, but there's some denominations who I bet they're really into the, look at this evil guy, like, I feel like it just moved that film to a different direction, it isn't, and I feel we don't need it, because this film is about Matthew. It's about Imala Hirsch and about his story, and then Danielle is there as well. Maybe if it was her story, then it would have made sense. But then it's about him, his friend, and this girl, and how does he respond. And I felt Kevin Smith did a good job here, but I feel with Kelly, like, we don't really need him in the film, So that's why, like, I always thought, why can we connect with Kelly? And the reason is because he just don't need it. Yeah, he does. Maybe he gets violent and stuff, but I don't know. Honestly, I just didn't like him because I feel he's over the top. If you guys have met people in the adult industry or kind of people, like, they're not as over the top. I feel he's more of a caricature character. So the film timing and setting stand out. So this is something as well that I like, how the film is set at the end of high school where everything doesn't matter. And for those of you guys, okay, like for hardcore Nickelodeon fans, there's this series called Ginger, and I really like her. Like, it's very nostalgic and explores a lot of very interesting ideas. And it, you guys gave me like a Ginger vibe, It doesn't matter if he attended classes or not. I feel that it's much more nostalgic, like for the hardcore Cartoon Network fans like Ed and Eddie, like it also has this like nostalgic vibe going on, and I felt like it was interesting as well. Like, maybe the tone of the film could have been excited with Eli, and then a bit nostalgic with Matthew, like conflicted. Like, I felt we could have just gotten much better with just two tones plus Danielle, and cut out a lot of other stuff, And it seems like school's coming to an end, and you can move on from having fun and enjoying life. Like, so school seems oppressive, at least how these guys do it, and then in the cinematography of cinematographer Anderson as well, like the type of lighting that he used, it makes us feel like school is just isn't a nice place. It isn't enjoyable. We have this other place that are fun, adventure, This is the idea of enjoying life, and I feel that could have been explored much more, So the only scene that where Kelly's okay is that strip club, but I felt we could have done it without him as well. Like, going to a strip club was memorable, because Matthew was being taught about drinking, smoking, and I like her, like a small character moment from Danielle where she's open-minded and like the club. And I also like the lap dance scene with Matthew's teacher. So definitely, guys, so the script club scene, it was good, and it lends itself more to his content that I was talking about, more introspective. So good film, although that tone kind of feels uneven. At the same time, I feel the heart is in the right place. So Greenfield, McKenna, and the cast. So I feel these guys, like, their heart was in the right place, but the material, like, it lends itself to a different kind of interpretation, It just feels like a TV show with multiple arcs, with all different tones. For instance, when Kelly steals Matthew's money, and this is what's like, you see guys, like, they're just trying to do too much, And yeah, while chasing Amy, they stay at the central idea of the story, and they just stick to that. So this has motivated me to review Chasing Amy, because I feel that, like, it does a lot of the things I'm telling you guys that this film could have done, because it just feels like okay, le mot français, like a melange of ideas, and I feel no idea stands out, so that's why it's less interesting. But like I said to you guys, like, it would have been interesting if Eli and Danielle try to convince Matthew to open his mind about adult work and the industry. But anyway, my friends, see you you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Take care.